Hi, everybody. This is Erica from In the Company of Cards. Happy Wednesday. Somebody asked me if I was sick because of my voice sounding this way. No, it's particularly froggy because I talk a lot and I've been talking a lot lately. But there's nothing wrong with it. It is what it is. So don't worry. Um, so I wanted to talk about a few things, all of them related, except for one. A viewer asked me, a couple of them are viewer questions, and this is one. A viewer asked me about the numbers on my cards. And so they noted that the woman card is number 29, which it is. And they wanted to know what the significance of the number is. So, first off, this is just a little quick Lenormand lesson, right? First of all, the original Lenormand system had 36 cards in it. Because now we are in more modern times, the deck has been updated so that most modern decks will have two women and two men for a number of reasons, not the least of which is if you're doing, for example, a reading for somebody on a single sex relationship, how are you supposed to do that? Are you supposed to say, okay, I know you're a woman and you're with a woman, but I only have one woman card, so we'll pretend that this man card is your female partner. Stupid, right? So there are two women and two men in each card. The cards originally were numbered, yes, 1 through 36. The woman is both of them because it's the same card, it's just different versions, um, is 29. My deck has an extra card on top of these two, which, as you know, is the scales. The significance of the cards is not numerological. It's just to keep track of which card is which, because there's certain spreads that you might want to do that involve a lot of cards and involve some more complex techniques than the ones you see me using here. You can find those techniques, of course, in my book or in my course. I teach them to you. But it's just, for example, I know that you know, card number one is the ship. I know that card 36 is the cross. The one time that the numbers were very helpful to me was when I was traveling in China and I wanted to read Lenormand, but I didn't want the cards confiscated because I was flying all over China by myself. And so I just took a set of index cards and numbered them 1 through 36, and I was able to read Lenormand for myself and for others while I was away. But there is no numerological significance to the numbers, if you know what I mean. Like, in other words, my life path number, for example, is a 3. That has no significance. The fact that the ship is number 3 in Lenormand is not relevant numerologically. It's just that the ship is card number 3. All right, so that's one question. Um, Another question that I was asked was by a viewer was why uh, uh, Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein, was bankrolling Sarah Ferguson for a decade. He was bankrolling her. Now, I have my own theory about why, which I will save. Um, let's see what comes up in the cards. So we want to know, why was Epstein, I keep blanking out on his name. Why was Epstein bankrolling, meaning giving money to on a regular basis, considerable amounts of money to Sarah Ferguson, who was divorced and had long since been divorced from Andrew? What was that about? Why was that money being paid? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use fish because fish is money. Okay. And we will be talking pretty exclusively about that whole case during this video. So we're looking for the fish. We want to know, why was Epstein regularly depositing money into Sarah Ferguson's bank account for a period of a decade or more? Why was he doing that? Okay, so this stands for the money. Well, first let me say, well, let me read the cards and then I'll sort of dovetail that with what I think. So we have the clouds, the man, the fish, the tree, and the scales. Okay. Uh, so now I'm going to say well, let me say what I think first, because I actually think that makes more sense. I think the simple reason that Epstein bankrolled Sarah is because Andrew asked him to. Remember, Sarah loves money and loves the things that money can buy. And at certain points in her life has been in need of large amounts of money in order to facilitate the lifestyle that she enjoyed. Andrew couldn't bankroll her because he didn't have that much money himself. And so I suspect he asked his good friend Epstein to do it. So, but the question is not why Andrew asked him to, but why in the end, why did Epstein say yes? And, you know, well, clouds. So clouds are doubts, and I can mirror it with the last card, which is my scales card. This is that extra card that I added to the deck. So this is about things legal, and this is sort of muddying legal waters. And Epstein knew that it was inappropriate for him to be putting this money regularly into her account. But of course, so then why would he do it? This is Andrew, because this was of long standing, this bankrolling. So this is Andrew. It's one of the men cards, and I can mirror it with the tree. And one of the meanings of the tree is um, long time, length of time. And why did Epstein do a lot of the things that he did? It was to hold some kind of power over other people. So he wanted to have stuff on Andrew. And if one of the things he can have on Andrew is the fact that he, Epstein, was putting money into Sarah's account, well, that's great. Uh, that's just more compromat, as the Russians say, that he can have against Andrew should the need arise. So clouds are mirrored by the book. So this is sort of not kosher what was being done. And it was done in secret. For Andrew, it was quite a lucky thing to be able to arrange this for Sarah, the mother of his children, the ex-wife, the person with whom he has quite a complicated, I suspect, karmic entanglement. So this was a quick, fast, and in a hurry, easy way for him to provide for her because they're just linked in that weird way. The money was needed because Sarah uh, had a certain lifestyle that she wanted to maintain. And also, she wanted to give the public the impression that this was her lifestyle. And she needs money to do it. She's very status conscious and very money hungry. And so, for public consumption, she needed it to appear that she has a lot of money. So that's why she needed the money. This was over a long period of time, more than a decade. And it had the effect, effectively, of infantilizing her, making both her and Andrew uh, in beholden, I would say, beholden to Epstein. Like, in other words, they owed him, which means that he owned them, right? I mean, he infantilized them by giving this allowance on a regular basis over a long period of time. But bottom line, justice will out. I know it doesn't often seem like that these days, but justice will out. And, the legal system had its way with him. I suspect it will also have its way with her. We've already seen that both Andrew and Sarah have lost any claim on any title and any royal anything. So, the piper is paid. Uh, the thing is that I can mirror the first card with the last card. This whole involvement, right, of Andrew and Sarah with Epstein casts um, casts the monarchy, which is the British government, in a very dim, cloudy light. It is dangerous, existentially dangerous to the monarchy for that couple to have been as enmeshed with this monster Epstein as they were. So that's very clear here. So I think it's what I thought all along, that Fergie needed money. Andrew didn't have it to give, but his good friend Epstein did. So I think Andrew tapped his friend, and Epstein said, "Oh, sure, because I can have something to hold over you two for a long time." And even though he is not here to see the consequences of all of this, effectively, Sarah and Andrew are ruined. They would have been ruined had he lived, too, because again, when the chickens came home to roost, if he needed to call in his chips, he would have caused them to be exactly where they are right now, which is essentially, international pariahs, cast off by their own family. So, but anyway, that's I think what happened uh, behind that story. Okay, another thing, viewer question. A viewer asked me, did I think Andrew would testify, uh, you know, to the goings on in that whole Epstein era in order to make amends? Well, my egoic answer, the answer from my ego is no. To make amends, he doesn't think he did anything wrong. But will he testify? Yes. Why? He will be required to. Remember, now all royal protections are pulled away from him. So he's like, John Q. Citizen, and he can be subpoenaed and deposed, and he can't say no. I mean, I guess he could use the Fifth Amendment, but then what is the Fifth Amendment? I refuse to answer on the grounds that my answer may incriminate me. Right? So I don't think that Andrew is at all remorseful? Let's ask the cards. Is he feeling at all remorseful, Andrew? So we're going to use the older man for Andrew, and we want to know if he feels remorse at all for his long association with Epstein and everything that that implies over decades. So this is Andrew. Does he feel remorse? No. We have the tower, the mice. Here's Andrew. We have the star, and we have the bear. So all Andrew is feeling in this moment is terrified. The weight of the monarchy has come down on his head as a result of his conversation with his brother Charles, the king, such that he has given up his titles and all of that. It was either that he give them up or they were taken from him. The reason that he gave them up is that if they had been taken from him, that would have affected his daughters and their inheritance, right? But he gives them up. They still stay in the line of succession. They keep whatever titles they have as princess or whatever they are. Um, but the way he is afraid. So the weight of the state has come down on him, but it's more than that. He is really afraid, Mice is afraid of what's going to happen in the future. Because in the future, once Charles no longer walks the earth, the new king will be his son, William. And William will be someone to fear if you are Andrew. He will probably be exiled, uh, maybe not out of the country, but to some small, you know, some small cottage on one of the royal estates, probably. Because this is the card for a boss, and even the card for a bully. And now that Elizabeth's gone, once Charles is out of the way, William will be free to roar. And what Andrew is facing now will be nothing to what he faces in the future under the reign of William. The other thing that Andrew is afraid of is the law, because he apparently will be or has been already called to the bench to answer for his association with Epstein. So he will be forced to testify, and he's terrified. Um, I'm going to pull a clarifier just to, cut him a break and see if remorse is any piece of this. I do not think it is. No, it's for his long-standing conduct, which is again association with this pedophile blackmailer. Justice will come calling, and that means trouble for him. I don't see any evidence in these cards of remorse. Yes, he will testify because he has no royal legal protections defending him from having to testify. That's why he testifies. Now, what he says on the stand, I don't know, who knows? But he will have to testify. It is not because of remorse. Okay. then this is so interesting. And I'm going to save my comments on Virginia Giuffre's book till the end. I read it all yesterday and then finished it this morning. And I just want to say a few things. But listen to this. Now, I mean, I'm not usually the gossipy type, except for once in a while, I kind of am. So here's the gossip. And then, another day, Friday, I guess, we'll get back to the felon and all his misdeeds. But anyway, this is related. Apparently, the author, there's an author, you probably have seen him. His name is Michael Wolff. He's got these big fish lips and he wears glasses, and he's written three books on the felon. Well, he's been doing Instagram videos and he's been on the Daily Beast quite a lot. And one of the things that he has talked about is the fact that he is how is his understanding of how Melania and the felon met. And he says that they met through Epstein, which of course pulls Melania in. I mean, she kind of already was pulled in, with the whole model thing. But anyway, Melania's lawyers sent Michael Wolff yesterday a cease and desist letter, basically asking for an apology and a retraction, and of course, threatening that he would be sued for X billion dollars if he did not apologize and retract his comments about how Melania is linked to Epstein. Well, far from being scared off by that, for Epstein, Epstein's dead. For Wolff, for Michael Wolff, this is a bonanza. He's not scared. First of all, he's got lawyers. Second of all, today he has announced that he is countersuing. And why he's suing is he's claiming that their suit against him and their request that he cease and desist is is one more attempt to tamp down free speech, namely his First Amendment right to say what he wants to say and write what he wants to write. Now, here's the best part though. In either case, so now they're suing each other. In both cases, should these cases proceed, depositions will be required. And Michael Wolff is salivating at the prospect of deposing the felon and Melania because he says that's the only way to get to the bottom of their association. And I'll talk more about Trump and Epstein in a second. But what I wanted to look at is we have, the suit and then the countersuit, or the threat to sue and then the actual suit, which Michael Wolff is now has now filed against Melania. So I wanted to know, who's going to win. So I'm going to pull two lines of five cards each. The top line will be for Melania, ladies first, and the bottom line will be for Wolff. And I want to see which line looks better. Um, so let's see. Who will win the battle of the suits? Will it be Melania against Wolff, or will it be Wolff against Melania? Again, in either case, the Trumps would be deposed. So, that's music to Michael Wolff's ears, and it should be music to the rest of us because, inquiring minds want to know. All right, how will Melania's suit go? Okay, Melania's suit does not look like it will go well. First of all, it's a bullying move. Michael Wolff has a First Amendment right to free speech. So it's an attempt to bully him and to get him to go in another direction. The suit itself is dubious, and I suspect that the judge will excoriate her lawyers and say, "Why are you even bringing this before me? This is BS, it's nonsense." And then the center card is the mountain. Her lawsuit against him, Melania's lawsuit against Michael Wolff, will go nowhere. But let's see how his goes against her. And remember, in either case, doesn't matter. In either case, if it proceeds, if either of these lawsuits or both of these lawsuits proceed, the Trumps will be deposed. And I mean, I've got the popcorn ready for that. All right, how will Michael Wolff's case go against Melania infringing on his um, First Amendment rights? Okay. We have the key, the star, the scythe, the book, and the felon. But I don't even think that's the felon. I think this is, I'm going to say this is Epstein. I think it's Epstein. The fact that the key is at the beginning of the line. Remember the other day I said, oh, when you have a line and it starts with the cross, it tends to be that the question's a non-starter. I mean, it's just like, don't even ask because you already know the answer kind of thing. But when the key starts the line, it is the firmament of angels shouting from the celestial rafters, yes, 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 yes. So I think his suit will go forward. The star, this is the future. I think this cuts Melania and the felon down to size. The scythe. It's incisive. It's direct. It's, stop all of this subterfuge and obfuscation and, going around Robin Hood's barn. Let's get down to brass tacks. What's what? Which the deposition certainly would do. And what would it cut open? Things that we don't know. Things we don't know about that relationship. So I think Michael Wolff comes out smelling like a rose. And I think Melania is blocked on this bully-like move that she's trying to make against Wolff. Okay, that was interesting. Uh, and then finally, I wanted to talk about Virginia Giuffre's book called Nobody's Girl, which, as I told you, I read all yesterday and then finished this morning. Searing, searing, searing. Now, I want to just, before I say more, I had a comment in my comment section on my last video, which I did not remove. I thought, you know what, let people see it, which was venomous and vitriolic, not towards me, because that would have been bibbity bobbity booed, but against Giuffre. And the writer made clear, they said, I'm a female. Okay, whatever. I'm a woman. I'm a female. And females can be really treacherous. And Giuffre lived a high lifestyle and now she wanted to get paid and blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. I'm going to say this. Um, I always talk about race all the time, and I talk about sort of conscious cluelessness uh, on the part of too many white people about issues of race in our country. I didn't know. I'm not like that. I have a black friend, whatever. But the same token, we also have, we're talking about, misogyny, hatred against women. But there apparently, I mean, this is not news to me, but there are women who hate other women. And the commenter who left that comment on um, my last video clearly is a woman who hates women. So, I'll pray for you. Okay. There are women who are complicit in their own oppression. There are women who are complicit in the oppression of other women. Now, I will say the book is very well done. Of course, she had a co-author, ghostwriter, but this was a person who's now known. The book's very well crafted. It is searing. It is sobering. And it is a reminder of the price women pay when they come forward and tell stories of abuse. Because just like if you say somebody's racist, because they are, and you get a lot of blowback from that, women who come forward about abuse get a lot of blowback, certainly from men, but from other women too. And I think that what I was left with in terms of the book was a few things. First of all, I read the section, there's a little piece where she talks about the felon. And she met him when she was 16, I think, maybe, yeah, 15 or 16, because her father had gotten her a job at Mar-a-Lago. Her father was a custodian, so he got her this job passing out towels and cleaning up restrooms and stuff, making tea and things like that. And the felon knew her father as a worker on his estate, Mar-a-Lago. So he introduced his daughter, Giuffre's father, last name Roberts, introduced his daughter to Trump. And what she says about the felon is that he was perfectly nice, kind, asked her if she liked children. He said because at the club, they had lots of families with young children and they were always in need of babysitters. So she could maybe like make some extra money babysitting for those families, which she in the end did. And she was very appreciative of that little tip. And that was it. There was nothing untoward um, in her interaction with the felon. And so, I mean, that's what she had to say about him. So that's it. And I'm sure that that's true. First of all, her father was standing right there. So, what do you expect the felon to do, right? But, people are very complicated. So just because the felon is horrible and tearing down the East Wing of the White House and stealing all our money and wanting more, um, it doesn't mean that he cannot have moments of, kindness and clarity. And that was a moment of kindness and clarity. Do you like kids? Because you could make a lot of money babysitting for the kids here of the club members. So we'll just let that be what it is and leave it alone. Keep it moving. All right. I will say that Giuffre, I and her co-author do a really, really good job of explaining the complex nature of abuse, particularly abuse of someone who's very young, and all of the mixed signals and the mixed feelings that um, compound around it. So it's definitely worth a read for that reason. I mean, I would love to think that my woman-hating woman reader or viewer would read the book because she might be a little bit more sympathetic to Giuffre's situation. It's complicated. Giuffre falls on her sword and admits to her participation, admits to having procured other girls. But the book really does a great job of explaining how she got from the girl she was to the girl she became as a result of her interactions with Maxwell and Epstein. And I will say that if you read the book, and if, as I have seen in my cards and others have seen in their cards, if Maxwell is indeed pardoned, uh, there is no justice. Maxwell was a monster, and she was a monster with a smile and a maternal attitude because she knew that that's what would feed these girls who were starved for that kind of thing. So I just think before anybody casts a stone, um, you know, search for your compassion. No matter how deep it is in the back of your closet, pull your compassion out. Um, I think it's a really well done book. It's searing. It's not as graphic as you might think that it would be, as it could have been. Uh, but you really feel for her. I think she tried to stay alive as long as she could. But I think, again, another takeaway is the fact that women who come forward with claims of abuse become the victims. Why? Because they have to relive it over and over and over and over again. Tell the story again and again and again and again and again. And of course, every time you're retelling the story, if you've got PTSD, which how could you not, you're reliving the story. This had a cumulative effect on Giuffre. So it's no surprise that she died by her own hand. I know all of the conspiracy theorists who want to say that she didn't, but I think she did, on the one hand. On the other hand, had she not met Epstein and Maxwell, would she have died by her own hand? No, she wouldn't have had cause to. So I guess, as a culture, we have so much to learn. On the one hand, this culture is very puritanical, very puritanical. On the other hand, they're purient. They want to know all of the seamy details of stuff. Which is it, America? Because it's untenable to be both. And why aren't the files out? Why is Johnson holding up the government? Because he doesn't want these files out. That should tell you a lot about what Giuffre went through, what others like her have gone through. And I mean, I'm just going to say, every woman in captivity has got a story to tell. Name me one that doesn't. I'll wait. Every woman has been made to feel some kind of uncomfortable by a man at some point in her life. And every woman has had the experience of being of having what she's, her feelings about that downplayed. Every woman has kept things to herself because she didn't want to be, re-victimized by not being believed. I was talking to my daughter the other night and I said, when I became, I guess I was in my 60s, early 60s, and I was walking through Penn Station. And I had walked through Penn Station in New York many, many times, and it always had felt like running a gauntlet because it felt like I was surrounded by predators and I was the prey. And I said to her, one of the things that I quite enjoy about being older-ish is the fact that I can walk in Penn Station and am invisible. That's a shame to feel free to walk in that crowded place, that crowded thoroughfare. And only now, after decades of having walked back and forth in Penn Station, only now feel, oh, okay, I don't have to watch my every move. I don't have to worry that somebody's going to come up to me and grab some part of my anatomy and then run off and laugh. Or worse, right? Every woman knows this. And if you don't know it, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. Maybe you live in a convent or something and you've not been around men who are like this. I don't know. Uh, but that viewer who left that vitriol, that ugly, ugly, ugly comment about Giuffre, um, either you yourself have been badly hurt and are trying to keep it as far away from you as possible, or you just enjoy being complicit with the patriarchy and you're a misogynist yourself. So, either way, like I said, I will pray for you. I think it's worth reading. I think there's a lot of things that we as a culture, as an American country, need to be doing. So, to go back to race, for example, the fact that there were so few Black people out at the No King's March, that's worth a conversation. And no, a lot of people don't want to hear the answer to why that is, but it's worth a conversation. We're tired of being on the front line all the time. I saw something on Instagram that really got me. Uh, it was a woman whose stuff I liked. I was following her page. And so she came on and she said she hadn't been on for a while because she was so kind of depleted by everything that's going on. And I mean, are we not all depleted by what's going on, right? And she said, and she didn't say it just once. She said it early on in the video, and then she said it towards the end of the video. And so I knew I wasn't imagining it. She said, this is a white woman. She said, I need a Black woman to come up here and slap me. And then she said it again later on. In other words, she was feeling so down and dispirited and discouraged by everything that she just hadn't had the wherewithal to come on to Instagram and talk in a positive, proactive way about things that could be done. So I need a Black woman to come and slap me. Okay, first of all, do you get the problem with this? I'll explain it for those who don't get it. This is a trope, A, that Black women are violent, and then B, that we should act in service of her. I looked for the video and then I couldn't find it. And I said, you know what? She's lucky that I couldn't find it. Because what I was going to say is maybe you need to slap yourself instead of always expecting that we're going to come to the front of the line, that we're going to be at the forefront of every fight. We learned our lesson on November 5th, which is why we're drinking our water and minding our business. It's as though we all got the bat signal, the epigenetic message, don't go. And again, I'm going to say the reason there was no violence, the reason the police were not in force was because it was a white, largely white crowd in a celebratory atmosphere with a beginning date, a time, and an end time. Very neat, very compressed. In the 60s, that's not how we did demonstrations. Um, there are next things that are needed, and I'll be talking about those moving forward with guests that I have on Sundays, right? And looking at them with the cards. And I know this might not have seemed like my normal video, but answered some questions, and I just want to make the case that we need to be a little bit more compassionate in the way that we look at other people and a little bit more, you know, awake, a little bit more conscious, a little bit less consciously clueless about things. These are hard times. We all wish they would end. Oh, I had somebody, this was a good one. Somebody wrote, a lot of card readers have said that October would be the day that um, the felon left the earth. Even have seen that in my cards, October. And then the person said, now Erica's saying December. Come on, which is it? Um, I mean, I know we would all like it to be yesterday, but it'll happen when it happens. And in the meantime, we have to stay awake. We have to do our work. We have to get our beauty sleep and eat well, help others, you know, uh, exercise compassion. And when it happens, it'll happen. But it is fragility to say, um, I need a white woman, I mean, I need a black woman to slap me. And it's also insulting. You know, it's fragility to say, I'm just so sick of this. When is it going to be over? I need it to be over. Come on. We came here for this. We have huge lessons to learn about everything, but mostly about how we see each other, about what government is and what government should and could be, about what we have not been willing to address. And two of those things are misogyny and racism. For a large swath of the population, it doesn't affect them, so they don't care. But with what's going on now, more and more people are going to be affected by what's going on. And that's maybe when we'll start to see that we have way more in common than what separates us. And then maybe we'll see that, you know, my battle is your battle. That Giuffre's battle is the battle of my commentator that had such nasty things to say about her, that they should be on the same side. But if we stay entrenched and, doing the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil monkey thing, we get bulldozers in the East Wing and poo rain down on us by would-be kings from airplanes. So, choices, choices. I really do recommend the book. I think it will, if nothing else, and I'm not even going to say that it names names that we haven't heard before, because I will tell you up front, it doesn't do that. So if that would be the reason that you would read it, then skip it, because it doesn't really do that. Why? Because she was afraid, if not for herself, for her family. And she, by the way, was justified in that fear. This this misogyny, I'll call it, this pedophilia, it's not just an American phenomenon. It's a worldwide network with long reaches. So she was afraid. So you're not gonna hear names that you've not heard before. But I think what you will get is a sense of her as a human being, and you will feel what she felt. And that's how we grow our empathy, is to feel what other people feel. So anyway, that was a little deep and serious. Sorry, not sorry. Tomorrow, if you're looking for me, you will find me on Substack. Um, that's where I'm going to be writing an article, as I do every week. But I will be back again with you on Thursday. No, Friday. God, this week is speeding by. I'll be back with you on Friday, and we will look at the felon and his health, and the bad deeds that he's up to and what's next. I know he's about to get on a plane to go to Asia um, next week. So we will look at that trip, because a lot of us have seen him, uh, I don't know, meeting his maker when he's not at home, we'll just say. I don't know, but I'll look at all of that on Friday for you. So I hope I haven't turned you off. If I have, then I guess I'm not for you. And that's okay. But, thank you all for being here, for sharing, liking, subscribing, hyping. We're almost at 36,500, which is really great. I'm happy about that. So thank you all for your support and for listening, and I'll see everybody Friday. Take care.